Excellent. Good afternoon. Welcome to the November board meeting. The board meeting of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its component units is now being called to order. If we could just have it quiet in the back of the room, please. Folks. Ed Setnar, get a hold of your folks. No, it's Ed Setnar's people. There's no doubt about it. Today's in-person meeting is being held virtually via video conference with the proceedings live streamed and from the Port Authority website. On November 6th, the Audit Committee met in executive session, and on November 8th, the Committee on Finance met in executive session. The Commissioners also met in executive session earlier today to discuss matters related to security or public safety, matters related to the purchase, sale, or lease of real property where disclosure would affect the value thereof, or the public interest, matters related to the personnel or personnel procedures, and matters involving ongoing negotiations or reviews of contracts or proposals. The first order of business, sadly, we are going to recognize that we've lost a member of our family, Joseph Black. Joseph Black's a United States Army veteran, dedicated employee of PATH Transit. For 5 years, he joined us in August of 19. He was a trackman for the track division. Prior to joining the PATH, he served in the Army and served honorably over in Korea. Joseph will be remembered for his artistic skills and ability to make everybody laugh and his love of music. And he's survived by his wife, Allison, and his daughter, Riley. If I ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence for Joseph Black. Thank you. All right, second order of business, we're going to go off just for a second. Tuesday I went to, I think it was 116th Street up in West Harlem. And every year for the last 5 years since COVID, the firm that I own, we have done this food bank drive nationally. I've gone to a bunch of states and just really think it's important that we try to reach out and talk about food insecurity. And I was particularly touched this Tuesday when I went to the food bank and spent some time prepping the packages and handing out and just seeing the amazingly gracious folks who were there. And it just got me thinking, we at the Port Authority and we as a community and we as a country need to really talk more about the food insecurity issue that is upon us. And if you go to the food banks anywhere in this country, you'll know what the demand is and how urgent it is that we kind of focus some of our attention. So yesterday I was talking to Frank Conte, who's the president of Port Authority PD, and talked about it. He goes, well, Kevin, we'd like to help out. We do this up all the time. So Frank was generous enough to send two of his folks up today, two of his officers, Caesar and Steve, and they're going to make a presentation, two presentations today. One we're going to present to Edward Ilsen from the Food Bank of New York. So do me a favor, Ed, why don't you come up to the microphone, talk about what you do briefly. I know I saw you Tuesday, but for the folks, and you impressed me with that operation, talk about what you do. And I know these folks are going to present you with a $5,000 check from the Port Authority PD, which is welcome. And they're also going to present to Commissioner Bolwich, to make sure New Jersey is not left out of the equation, a check to a New Jersey food bank. But Edward, just talk about what the food banks, the operation in West Harlem.
Thank you, Kevin. Food Bank for New York City, we're one of the largest food relief organizations in the city, certainly in the city. Our mission is to empower every New Yorker to achieve food security for good. We do that through our member network. Our member network is 800 agencies, so your typical food bank, church pantry, community center. We work with healthcare partners. Basically, anybody who's giving out food in the city probably gets that from us. We have a 90,000 square foot warehouse at the Hunts Point Green Market that we operate about 100,000 pounds of food out of there every single day on our own fleet of trucks that delivers food to our member agencies throughout the 5 boroughs, serving the 1.3 million New Yorkers who are currently facing food insecurity. 50% of New York City households are having trouble navigating the rise in food and rent costs. This year, Food Bank for New York City has set a goal of delivering 40 million meals to our neighbors in need through the end of this holiday season. So what this $5,000 check represents today is 25,000 of those meals will be delivered to our friends and neighbors in need throughout the holiday. If anybody's looking to donate, foodbanknyc.org. If anybody's looking to volunteer, same website. If anybody is looking for food, foodbanknyc.org, and go to find food, and there's an interactive map that you can put in your zip code, and it will tell you which member agency in your area can help you out with food today, tomorrow, and next week.
So, Edward, I appreciate that, and we're going to, the commissioners and I and Rick Cotton, we talked about, we're just going to have a discussion going forward to see if we can integrate some of what we do at the port and some of what you do at the food bank, and hopefully either volunteer or strike up some synergies. I just think it's something that we just need to do.
We greatly appreciate that on behalf of Food Bank for NYC. Thank you so much.
So, Caesar and Steve, you want to get up there? You're comfortable behind the microphone on behalf of Frank Conti and present your check for $5,000, which gets 25,000 meals, which is staggering. It really is.
Good afternoon, Steve Akesian, Susan Morales. Frank asked us to come down. He's actually at a meeting uptown in Midtown. He asked us to come down to present the check to you. We do stuff like this all the time. Food drives, turkey drives. We hand out backpacks at the start of school. We love giving back to the community. And I'm sure I speak for Frank and the rest of the PBA when I tell you we're just humbled to give back to the community, especially during this time of the year. I'd like to present the check for $5,000.
Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you. Thanks, Ed. We appreciate it. You're going to hear from us. And at this time, you're not getting off because there's a Jersey component to this, just so you know. So, Commissioner Bullock, talk about the food bank that you have in Elizabeth that they're going to...
Well, first of all, thank you very much. And Chairman O'Toole, thank you for arranging this. St. Joseph's Social Center is in partnership with the Coalition to House the Homeless in the city of Elizabeth. And currently they work in a food bank, and through a state grant we've developed units and buildings on the property. And we probably get hundreds of people there 3 times a week that go through and pick out food similar to what your food bank does, I'm sure, sir. We also have another food bank in the neighboring community of Hillside. And as you know, $5,000 will go a very long way in feeding people during a difficult time, especially in the winter months. And we appreciate this donation. Thank you.
So, Commissioner Bullock, someone's going to hand deliver. Who's from Madison? You're going to... So they're going to hunt you down tomorrow to make sure they can hand that check over. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. All right, next order of extraordinary business we have. I say it's extraordinary because I don't think it's ever happened before here in the history of the Port Authority, the agency that's been here for 103 years. We're going to honor an employee today, and I don't think many people can say this, who has worked for the agency for 50 years. 50. And I will tell you, and we have come across so many extraordinary people who have come and gone, spent 30 and 40 years, whether it's, name it, Huntley or Mike Messiah, Janet Cox, Mary Lee. There's a whole group of people who have done 3 and 4 decades. And I don't know if anyone else has done 5 decades here. And Lillian is really not liking this now, but I have to say, I insisted we fought over this. You have to recognize your employees. They are the reason why you move forward. And she has been a shining example to this agency from the moment I got here in July of 17 of what it means to be a dedicated public employee and what it means to be a leader in an agency like this. And I will tell you, of every single employee that I've met, and really magnificent, and I met somebody today who's been here for 2 weeks, and I said, look, within a month you're going to be a Kool-Aid drinker for Port. You breathe it, you live it, you love it. This is what we do. This is what Lillian's been doing for 5 decades. She has mentored hundreds and hundreds. She has done things to, post the 93 bombing and post 2001, had just been a central figure, has held down procurement without anything but remarkable success, has been replicated throughout the country in terms of the ethics and upholding what you do in a procurement and a billion-dollar agency. There's nobody that has done more for this agency over the last 103 years. And I say nobody has done more than Lillian Valente. She has dedicated herself. She has done above and beyond, and she's not leaving. This is not a farewell, Lillian, just so you know. And I felt we have to say thank you, and it's not even enough, and we have to say you are our shining light, you're our North Star, you're everything to us, and I mean that, Lil. You know, she was dancing in the aisle today about something yes, she was dancing about something we're going to vote on later today. She was so enthusiastic. Think about it, 50 years. Who's going to be dancing in their work aisle? Lillian is, that's who. She has this infectious, she loves to come here. This is her world. Lillian, you have made me better. You have made me, being able to look at you and say, you are the shining example of what every employee should be. You have really graced us with your presence, your intelligence, your ethics, your intellect. You are wonderful. There is nobody better, and nobody does it better than you. I think Carly Simon sang that somewhere. Nobody does it better than you, Lil, and I really mean that. So before, if anybody else wants to chip in, we have a couple of token gifts for you that just want to recognize your extraordinary contributions. So please, a round of applause for Lillian Valente. Nobody does it better. Anybody else want to be heard before we present? Vice Chair.
The most dedicated, most articulate team member. I still remember the touching words at the centennial dinner when you spoke without a note about what the Port Authority meant to you. So I just want to add my voice to the chairman. And I'd like to have a second round of applause, if I may.
There isn't a project that you look at. Whether Bayonne, Goethals, the airports, the PATH, the port, she has touched everything, influenced everything, every building, every cinder block, every brick and mortar. She's done it all. She's touched it all. And all those folks, if you want to know how to be an extraordinary employee, just do 1/10 of what Lillian has done in her career, and you'll be magnificent. Anyone else want to be
Mr. Chairman?
Hold on, Rick. I'm sorry. Yes, is that Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Eve, you wish to be heard?
Plus one, everything that you and the vice chairman have said. I'm so sorry I'm not there to give the extraordinary Lillian a massive bear hug, but I will do that the next time I see her. But I just want to say she embodies more than really anybody I know at the port or elsewhere the word spectacular. There is no person, I believe, not just at the port, but in the nation, who has her level of expertise and skill when it comes to procurement, full stop. With respect to some of the most complex projects, not only that the port has ever been engaged in, but our nation has ever been engaged in. Her expertise, her constant strive for excellence, and her nimblism, particularly when it comes to engaging more women and women-owned businesses and businesses that are owned by people of color. Once again, leading not just the port and in New Jersey and in New York, but a nationally recognized leader who has helped the port excel with respect to MWBE contracting as well. I am 60 years young, but I want to be like Lillian when I grow up. And in addition to her excellence and expertise, as you mentioned and as the vice chair mentioned, she just has such a wonderful way about her. I have never seen her upset. I have never seen her lose her cool, even though over the course of 50 years she has had, I'm sure, countless reasons to do so. And so even though I'm not there in person, I just wanted to take this time on the record to say, brava, Lillian, and thank you so much for your service. God bless.
Thank you, Commissioner Eve. Rick Cotton? Our Executive Director.
Well, I do want to add a couple of words, but by the way, I have seen Lillian upset.
By the way, Commissioner Eve, a number of senior staff giggled when you said that, just so you know.
So at some point, everything has been said, but not everybody has said it, so I won't repeat what has been said, Lillian, but I do want to just say you have been a rock in your current position. You have a long and storied career, which long predates my arrival. You really have been, however, in the procurement role you're currently in, you and I have worked hand in glove. It has allowed me to have complete confidence in the integrity of the procurement process, which is close to religion for you, and you have served the agency extraordinarily. And I salute you and thank you.
All right, at this time, I ask the commissioners and Rick to join me as we present Lillian with a couple of gifts. You mind grabbing one of these?
I'll take the light one.
Hello. I'm great. I'm leaning into it now.
So, Vice Chair, you want to paraphrase this?
With our greatest appreciation, the board recognizes Lillian D. Valenti for 50 years of dedication and service as a Port Authority in the 5-state region this November 14, 2024.
Rick Cotton and the commissioners, when I flown over 9/11, it's been said, Will, that this place is you. And literally, you've been unflappable. This flag represents your spirit, the American spirit that you have within you, and all that you've done for this nation. It's made it cases. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, a couple other things. Greg, what do we got?
I don't want to outdo the chairman, but
Ooh, what do we got?
we have some guest stars that we brought, as we know Lillian's such a supporter. Wow. We have some canines.
Greg, it's all you and
All right.
Ed. Come on up.
I'll get the easy one out of the way first, but for those of you who haven't guessed, Lillian has always been a huge supporter of the OCSO's office, but also the PAPD, loves the dogs. So we have a dog tag. T-shirt, posters, trading cards from the canine unit. Which is a great thing here. We have our two wonderful representatives here today, and they're not the attack dogs. But we're not done yet. Superintendent, you'd like to present that?
Lillian, I'd like to present this flag on behalf of the men and women of the Port Authority Police Department. Obviously, you've got an integral role of turning us out each and every day, to respond, recover, mitigate, whatever we do out there. And obviously, this program has grown enormously, the K-9 program, and our function of what we have to do each and every day. We can't make a mistake. So I thank you for all your support, your friendship, your mentoring, and your leadership. So on behalf of the men and women, this was proudly flown over the World Trade Center to signify our respect for you and our honor of you. So thank you.
Thanks a lot.
What else you got?
We have certainly the certificate to go with the flag, but also from the OCSO's office, congratulating you on your 50 years. And because we couldn't even let it go with that, we have the very much coveted, and I don't think we've given these out. This is from the superintendent himself. It's an official police fleece. It doesn't give you We'll hold this for you.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. That's beautiful. Lillian, the microphone is yours.
Well, that was very humbling, and thank you so much. So I thought I perhaps should, help people understand. Really? 50? Huh? Why? So last night I was thinking about a couple things. First impressions and how important they are, first experiences, and philosophies, all of which have combined to take me through the decade and make me so proud to have the Port Authority, as Clarel de Graaf would say, in my DNA. So first impressions, why did I come here? I saw the chief engineer years ago getting an award in the Rose Garden for engineering achievements of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And surprisingly to me, it had nothing to do with the bus terminal, because I thought that's what the Port Authority was. And I believe it was for the World Trade Center. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a really amazing set of structures. That's an amazing award. They must have really talented people. And I applied. And that framework of engineering and being a premier building organization has carried through a lot of my career, and has also on occasion caused me to raise my hand for some engineering-related aspects, design and delivery competition, you may remember that, to help the Port Authority continue to be a premier engineering agency. And so that was the first impression. First experiences. I wasn't raised at home to be seen and not heard. I'm sure that doesn't come as a surprise to you. In my first couple months at the Port Authority, I actually dared to disagree with one of the senior executives who were somewhat feared in the organization and was intimidating. And I was told that maybe in my probationary year I wasn't going to make it. In point of fact, that person became my mentor and gave me it instilled in me how important it is to be yourself. You get paid to have opinions, and that's what I tried to instill in the people I work with and who work for me. Second, in terms of first experiences, I asserted myself so that I could conduct training seminars off premise. I was the first woman to do it, and it was one of the best things I did as a career employee, because I had the opportunity to meet the field supervisors and the field maintenance people, and mainly unionized people who are where the rubber meets the road of what the Port Authority is really about. Running facilities, dealing with passengers, dealing with customers, crises, facilities that are so broad and complex. That became my heart and soul of the Port Authority. But more importantly, as I've just mentioned, and hats off to the unionized folks here, including 32B Day, it taught me how important what the unions do and the union leaders is they teach you how to advocate for their staff and how important that is. And there's this concept of unit work that you hold on to. You're assigned a task or a set of tasks, it's yours, and it leads into passion of what you do. So that was a very important lesson to me that I took with me all the way through my career, and I will never forget that. I mentioned the 3 philosophies. First one is respect management. I believe that if you respect people in the Port Authority, outside the Port Authority, and you'll get respect back. And it's a much, much easier way to deal with challenges and conflicts. And it's sort of a basic principle of humanity. Second philosophy is, and I know that my key human resources partner is here today, the wrong person in a job is worse than no one in a job. And again, as you're rising through the ranks of supervisor, manager, and higher, it makes life easier. Third philosophy was, and I have a contingent of warehouse and Tower 4 procurement staff. Would you raise your hand, please? Over here? Okay, here's the third policy. Hire people who are smarter than you, because it keeps you young, it helps you deal with change, and it makes your job easier. all those people who just raised their hand meet that criteria, and yes, it's where integrity and rubber meets the road. And I'm going to conclude by a thread that runs through me. There was a reference to 1993 and 9/11. You know, 50 years, I've had a life here. But the Port Authority literally gave me my life back. So on 9/11, today I'm going to dedicate all of the memories and some of the momentums to police officer Thomas Gorman, who made the ultimate sacrifice, who pushed me out of the door from the Path Plaza on 9/11, because I was trying to get upstairs because I worked for the Office of Medical Services, and saved my life. And that there's no matter how much you do, you can't give back enough to all those people, and to the largest loss of police life in the history of the United States, and to all the other innocent, hardworking men and women. So, to everyone here, that's the really important thing that runs through me. So thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you, Lil. Amazing, amazing. We'd like to next acknowledge, yesterday the Port Authority Veterans Association had its third annual Veterans Voice event here at World Trade with our Executive Director, Rick Cotton, and the Port Authority Veterans Association kicked off the event with the unveiling of the World War II plaque that has been installed here outside of the boardroom. Daniel is here. Daniel, come on up. And why don't you explain, Daniel, what the plaque represents in terms of the, for those folks in World War II, talk about those individuals who had the Gold Star, those we've lost, and what the plaque really signifies.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Cotton, and Board, for having me today to speak on behalf of the Veterans Association and the Port Department on the World War II plaque that was put out. Yesterday's event was very successful. It's geared towards veterans, and it's an open forum for veterans to share their experiences and stories, as well as share their knowledge and any recommendations to agency leadership on what can be done to improve and support veterans here at the agency and in the region. Yesterday's event, the unveiling was a historic event for us. That plaque that sits outside the boardroom is a piece of Port Authority history. There's 209 PA employees who served in World War II that are listed on that plaque, and 3 employees listed on that plaque are Gold Star members. Those 3 members, Lewis P. Elliott, First Lieutenant of the U.S. Army, James J. Mahoney, Seaman of the U.S. Navy, and Daniel C. Donovan, Petty Officer 3rd Class of the U.S. Navy, all gave the ultimate sacrifice. And that plaque is out there honoring them and the other members of the Port Authority that served in World War II. Just a quick details on those 3 service members that passed. Lewis P. Elliott, First Lieutenant, U.S. Army, was not only a Purple Star recipient, but he was a Silver Star recipient, which is the 3rd highest medal or decoration you could receive in the military for combat. James J. Mahoney, Seaman of the U.S. Navy, was a Purple Heart recipient. And Daniel C. Donovan, Petty Officer 3rd Class, was also a Purple Heart recipient. This plaque really shows and embodies the longstanding support that the Port Authority has always shown to the military, service members, and veterans. And the plaque will stand there now and continue to show that. And we, as a Veterans Association, we are here to support veterans as well as support any causes that the agency has for veterans. Thank you for your time, and really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. So, Daniel, I'm told the history is at the end of World War II, the Executive Director, Austin Tobin, sent a telegram to each Port Authority employee and said, thank you very much for your service. Now you have a job here for you, waiting for you at the Port Authority. True fact? True fact. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thank you very much. And we should all take a look at that wonderful monument and testament to those people who have served both for this country and for the Port Authority. Daniel, thank you very much. All right, now we're going to move ahead. It's crazy. It is like literally November of 2024, and we just feels like it just started. And the weeks and months kind of rushed together. And we've asked the staff just to kind of put together like a 2 or 3 minute video, which we're going to talk about some of the accomplishments at the Port Authority. I think it's good every once in a while to pick your head up from doing what you're doing and just stepping back for a moment and just looking with a wider scope of the things that actually got accomplished in 2024. Port Authority is amazing. There are things that go on every single day. Every day is a challenge. Every day is difficult. Great things happen every day. But every once in a while, I just want to say, in terms of the longer thing, what got accomplished. So if we could just roll that videotape and just talk about some of the accomplishments in 2024.
The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey was created more than a century ago to oversee the movement of goods through New York Harbor. Today, it operates an unparalleled transportation system across air, land, rail, and sea that drives the region's growth and prosperity. That legacy continues. As we move into our second century, we're reimagining what's possible by making once-in-a-generation investments to transform critical infrastructure. Replacement of the aging Midtown bus terminal continues to move forward, with federal and local approvals advancing and early works construction contracts approved. We're implementing the EWR Vision Plan, which will reimagine Newark Liberty International Airport following the successful opening of its new award-winning $2.7 billion Terminal A, winner of Skytrack's 2023 Best New Terminal in the World Award, among other accolades. We're replacing the outdated AirTrain Newark with a modern, reliable system and opening a publicly accessible entry point to the Newark Airport Rail Station, particularly beneficial for underserved Newark and Elizabeth neighborhoods. We deliver to the region a whole new, award-winning, world-class $8 billion LaGuardia Airport, named Forbes 2024 Best U.S. Airport and recipient of numerous prestigious accolades. We're completely rebuilding JFK with a $19 billion investment, $15 billion privately financed without public funds, a world-class gateway for a world-class region, opening 2026. We're enhancing PATH's reliability, capacity, and customer experience through the Comprehensive Path Forward Plan, a $430 million 2-year initiative to overhaul signals, tracks, and stations. We're rebuilding the entire roadway at Port Newark's main artery, reducing congestion and accidents. We're revitalizing and re-energizing the World Trade Center site in Lower Manhattan with the opening of the new Performing Arts Center, and a slew of events and activations across the campus have established it as a vibrant community destination. We're focusing on our commitment to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 through initiatives to electrify the agency's vehicular fleet, prioritize decarbonization of legacy infrastructure, and aggressively implement greener technologies and practices. As the Port Authority executes on a historic capital plan, the agency is winning accolades from customers and critics alike, bringing critical transformations across the finish line and making tangible progress on major projects that have stagnated for decades. This once-in-a-generation overhaul of the region's infrastructure is strengthening the region's global competitiveness while creating tens of thousands of good-paying local jobs and improving the travel experience for hundreds of millions of people annually.
To the Port Authority employees, that's a credit to you. Thank you very much for all your hard work. It is unmistakable the accomplishments that are happening here right in front of our eyes in 2024. And I want to say to the commissioners, each and one of you, and to our executive director and senior staff, you have been unyielding in terms of your commitment to really redoing the infrastructure. And once in 100 years, you're going to see the changes, whether it be PATH or Port and the airports. It is remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable, and I couldn't be more proud. I've been in politics and public service for 40 years. This year marks 40 years. I've never been more proud. Never been more proud of an agency than I am today, of this Port Authority, which has done an amazing thing. Not that we're only taking notice. New Jersey's taking notice. New York is taking notice. The world is taking notice. The Port Authority is now elevated a world-class operations, getting things done, and the best is yet to come. Thank you to all of our employees. Thank you very much. All righty, time for some business. We have a presentation by our Chief Development Officer, Derek Utter, Chief Operating Officer, Jim Heitman, Chief Financial Officer, Libby McCarthy, who will discuss the proposed Port Authority 2025 budget and its sources and uses of funds, and the presentations and a request for public hearings. Derek, microphone is yours.
Great, thank you. So as backdrop to the discussion about the 2025 budget, Jim and I will just walk through a little bit of context. So as the video showed, this is a national issue, state of government, state of our infrastructure, and that's the challenge that we're dealing with. We want to just touch on a little bit more details around what we have been doing, because as the video showed and the chairman mentioned, what is going on at the Port Authority right now is truly transformational. This is a once-in-a-generation set of moves and investments that is happening that is transforming the assets of our region. It's happening across all 5 of our businesses. In aviation, we're spending $16 billion. On top of that, we have private capital that is investing in our terminals about an equal amount for a total of $30+ billion. In the tunnels, bridges, and terminals, we're investing about $10 billion in this capital plan. The PATH system is seeing about $5 billion of investment, and the ports and the World Trade Center each over $1 billion. And what we're doing is truly transformational. Each of the 3 airports is undergoing major redevelopments that's transforming the way that they're perceived by the public, perceived by the country, and perceived by the world. Newark Terminal A has been completed. We're also in the throes of the Newark AirTrain, and as you mentioned, we also launched a Newark Vision Plan, which came to a public announcement about a month or 2 ago. I'm not going to go through all of the projects on this page, but I do want to point out the Midtown Bus Terminal, which is the next major project that the public will see start to get underway. And that is a truly transformational project which has been decades in the making. And so being on the doorstep of beginning that project is the next major thing that will be revealed with the public. I think is truly exciting. So if I take a step back and look at what was accomplished this year, in the past year, we've received additional global recognition and awards for the new LaGuardia Terminals B and C and the Newark Terminal A. As the video mentioned, we have won 5-star terminal awards, which are 2 of the 3 5-star terminals in the United States are in the New York, New Jersey region. We also, just last month, LaGuardia was named by Forbes Travel Guide as the best airport in the United States. And this was 5,000 heavy travelers, travel experts. So really a hardcore group of people have named LaGuardia the #1 airport. We started major construction, and so major construction, if you've been to the airports and you've seen the steel coming out of the ground, you'll notice the terminals are about half built, causing some traffic. But on the other hand, we're looking forward because you can really see that there's going to be a real change there in a couple of years. And as I mentioned, the Newark Vision Plan, which was announced, is really another element of the drumbeat of progress at Newark. You'll hear an announcement today from our Chief Operating Officer around a really exciting announcement on the next phase of the Newark AirTrain project. We don't talk a lot about what's happening on the Restore the George project, but that's basically an entire gut-level renovation of the George Washington Bridge, including replacement of all of the suspender ropes. We're nearing completion of the suspender ropes on the south side of the bridge by early next year. That will be completed then. Every suspender rope will have been completed, replaced. And as I mentioned, the bus terminal is kicking off. We'll have more to say about that in the near term. At the ports, we have completed construction milestones of the Port Street Corridor Improvement Project, and we announced our first work order package on the wharf rehabilitation program at Port Elizabeth to support wharf maintenance. And on the PATH, as the video mentioned, we announced a more than $400 million investment to upgrade critical infrastructure. We completed station restorations and upgrades, and we announced the initial deployment of the PATH new contactless fare payment system. So what does 2025 have? And you'll see that our budget proposal for 2025 is similar in scope and ambition as it was in 2024. In 2025, we expect in the aviation area to make major advancements of the JFK projects with our goal of opening 2 new world-class terminals on par with the terminals that we opened in the past several years by 2026. We also are advancing ground access initiatives with the Newark AirTrain, with the Northeast Station access, opening the station, which is the NEC station, to local traffic, and a new enhanced LaGuardia bus service, which will provide a more seamless, less time a quicker trip to the airport from the subway station. We also are progressing preliminary planning for a new terminal at Newark Airport, new Terminal B. And on the tunnels, bridges, and terminals, we continue to advance projects like the Midtown Bus Terminal, including the first phase of the staging and storage facility and ramps. At other facilities, I'll bring this to a conclusion. We plan to complete construction of the Corbin Street ramp program at the main artery into Port Elizabeth. We're going to continue progress on the wharf rehabilitation program and the PATH system. We will continue construction activities on our state of good repair, and we will also complete full implementation of the TAP contactless fare system. So I will end it there, and I'll hand it back to our Chief Operating Officer to continue on the operating side.
Good afternoon. First, I want to congratulate Lillian. I can say and probably represent a lot of staff in saying that I've personally benefited from her support and I'll call it guidance over the years. You know, moving into the operations and tying what we're able to achieve while we're doing all of the capital construction that Derek gave an overview of is really what I want to focus on. And even though I'm only around 38 years, you know, I've lived along and watched this agency, you know, strive to do the kinds of things that we've been able to do under your leadership. And when I look at the 25 operating data and the agenda that we're pursuing next year, you know, it strikes me all of the times people told us this is impossible. And I'll reference the first one being 150 million annual air passengers. I spent a fair amount of time in aviation, and people told us when we were planning, no way can our airport system ever handle that. But the unprecedented investment in the terminals with our private partners, the leveraging of technology and to move people through the airport, and really the determination of the staff to have that operational focus with the customer experience in mind is what makes the impossible possible. So in 25, the 150 million includes 4 million new air passengers, which is driven by a strong international demand and also a modest increase in leisure travel. The operation of those new, larger, and award-winning terminals to give that best in class is an operational challenge that our staff and partners take on very seriously. And when you see the kind of $19 billion construction going on at JFK and think about this 150 million annual air passengers going through our airport system, only through the experience that we've gained from LaGuardia and Newark on how to do that, both at the same time, operate and construct, is really going to be a sight to be seen again in 2025. When I think about tunnels, bridges, and terminals, 122 million vehicles, with 4% of those as an increase in truck operation. Again, that's 900,000 more vehicles than last year, or 0.7% compared to 2024 budget. The fact that we've been able to achieve that while doing the Restore the George program, replacing the suspension ropes, rehabilitating the lower level, adding the bike paths, the pedestrian paths, is just truly amazing, and again, a testament to the hard work of the operations staff on our TB&T team. We're also leveraging technology through the all-electronic tolls that are now in place at all of our crossings. This reduces travel time, reduces accidents, and greenhouse gas emissions. And looking forward to the new Midtown Bus Terminal, the planning on the operations side with Diane's team, working with Steve's major capital program to be able to pull that off in the heart of Manhattan, all of that work's ongoing, and we're really looking forward to kicking off that project in 2025. Looking at PATH, we're expecting 59 million passengers, a new high since 2019. This represents an increase of 2 million more riders, 4% over 2024, and it's really driven by continued office occupancy growth and strong regional employment. Projected ridership is 71% of 2019 pre-pandemic level, reflecting PATH's slow ridership recovery, but making progress and bringing customers back to the system. We've twice this year increased service on the PATH system during the peak hours, and we're going to continue to roll out the new 9-car rail expansion. And the very popular tap-and-go fare payment system will be completed by year-end in 2025, and that's really going to help us expedite and improve the customer experience. The seaports, this is another one when I looked at it and thought about how impossible this was, that where we were back in the day with ports, and to think about being where we are, pushing 8.5 million TEUs, which is a peak since the COVID high in 2022. If we hadn't gone through the pains of deepening the harbor to 50 feet, if we didn't raise the Bayonne Bridge, none of this would have been possible, and here we are thinking about and exploring deepening the harbor to 55 feet to retain our current status as a top port on the eastern seaboard. We also just recently were awarded a federal grant for the deployment of zero-emission equipment at the port, $370 million awarded recently, and that's while we're doing the rest of the construction and growth, working with our partners to achieve our net zero goals. And last but not least, expecting over 60 million people on the World Trade Center campus, which has become really an iconic destination for the world, driven by One World Trade Center observation, the Oculus, and the museum. But you know what I will point out in my own observation about the opening of the Performing Arts Center, the church, and with special events put on by our staff for watch parties and major sporting events, the interactive art exhibits, you start to see the campus becoming an integral part of the community downtown. So, you know, really excited to take on this challenge in 2025. And just before I turn it over to Libby, I just want to thank Rick, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners for providing the leadership and support of staff to really make the impossible possible. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I too want to extend my congratulations to Lillian for her 50 years. As a relative newbie to the Port Authority, thank you for teaching me all things Port Authority and for being such a wonderful partner as we've worked to deliver on some of these amazing projects that we've been talking about. I also want to acknowledge my Management and Budget Division, who worked with the whole organization in putting together this budget that we're proposing for you today. The proposed 2025, first I want to frame just a few more things, but the proposed 2025 budget, it provides the resources that we need to enact the ambitious capital plan and the operating agenda that you just heard about. Just once again, to frame things, though, important things to keep in mind as we go through this is the Port Authority is a self-funded agency. We don't rely on taxpayer dollars. We don't get funding, for the most part, from the federal government or the states of New York and New Jersey. We rely on third-party fees, rentals, and other payments for the use of our facilities, including tolls and fares. But what we work very hard to do is to minimize that maximize the non-toll, non-fare revenue portion of our revenue stream. And we succeeded in doing that by having 65% of our revenues come from these sources. That being said, COVID-19 had a major impact on the Port Authority. In just the 24 months from March of 2020 through March of 2022, we lost $3 billion in revenues from what we were anticipating. And COVID has continued to have an impact. As Jim talked about, the PATH system continues to have lower ridership than we had pre-COVID. The costs of construction, raw materials, and labor have all increased substantially in the period from supply disruptions, et cetera. And unlike other transit agencies in our region, we did not receive the significant relief from COVID-19 from the federal government. So we didn't have something to help us bridge that revenue loss to the full extent. So with that in mind, our proposed 2025 budget includes some limited toll adjustments to the agency's bridge and tunnel tolls that are necessary to address those negative impacts of COVID-19 on revenues and operating costs, and to continue to invest in the ambitious capital agenda that you just heard about. So let me talk a little bit more about I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment, but first let me frame for you the proposed 2025 budget. It provides the resources necessary to advance our agenda as well as keep the region moving. It's a total budget of $9.4 billion, and it is balanced between its sources and uses. And I'm going to walk through the various components of that budget, but and we'll focus on that. First, the primary source that we have is our gross operating revenues, which I mentioned come from our fees for use of our facilities. Gross operating revenues are projected to be $7.1 billion in 2025. That reflects an increase of approximately $400 million, or 6% versus the '24 budget. The slide shows you the various components of those revenues, but the primary drivers of the change from the prior budget is our aviation revenues, which we project to be $247 million, or 7% higher than our 2024 budget. $170 million of that is a result of projected higher aviation fees. That's driven by two components. One, we renegotiated our cost recovery arrangements at the airports, and that became effective at the beginning of this year, but weren't finished at the time we developed the '24 budget. So this budget is reflecting that flight fee agreement, and we're also capturing in this higher activities as well as higher costs to be recovered. Rentals are expected to grow by $82 million, or 5% versus the '24 budget. That's really driven by higher activity across our facilities, and that's reflected in these numbers as well. Bridge and tunnel tolls are projected to increase by $113 million, or 5.6%. That's driven by a number of things. First, each year we have an annual automatic inflation-based toll increase that was approved by the board in 2019 and will be effective on January 5th. We also are proposing, as I mentioned, various toll adjustments, which I'll talk about in the following slides. And then we have net vehicular growth, higher truck usage, as Jim mentioned, offset partially by a projected increase in net toll violations. PATH fares are projected to increase by $17 million, or almost 12% growth over the '24 budget. This as well reflects an automatic inflation-based toll adjustment of 25 cents that the board approved in 2019 that would be effective on January 12th of 2025. It also reflects the ongoing ridership recovery that we're seeing at PATH, and it's partially offset by our projected impact of the proposed reduced fare program that we'd like to introduce for passengers with qualifying disabilities. So let me talk a little bit about those adjustments to tolls and fares. So first and foremost, Just as a reminder, the board back in 2019 approved automatic inflation-based adjustments to our tolls and fares. At the bridges and tunnels, auto, Easy Pass, peak and off-peak, and toll-by-mail rates will all increase by 43 cents on January 5th as by the measure of inflation. And toll, Easy Pass, peak and off-peak, overnight, and toll-by-mail rates will increase by 58 cents per axle. Path fares, which have not changed, the single ride fare has not changed in a decade. It was last changed in October of 2014. The Path single ride fare will increase by 25 cents from $2.75 to $3. That will become effective on January 12th of 2025, and all existing multi-trip and discount fares will continue. Now moving to the proposed adjustments on top of these automatic adjustments previously approved. We are proposing an increase of 25 cents per year for autos, trucks, and trucks above the inflation adjustment to be repeated in 2026, 7, and 28. The proposed adjustments preserve the Easy Pass discounts, including the Staten Island Bridges program. We also have two proposals to incentivize Easy Pass usage and proper use of Easy Pass transponders. These would be effective July 6th. The first, to incentivize the enrollment in the Easy Pass program by drivers who are not currently enrolled. We are proposing to increase our toll-by-mail rate to $22.38, which is consistent with the two-way rate of the MTA, remembering that we charge the toll only on eastbound traffic. This would, roughly 15% of our transactions are toll-by-mail transactions. We are proposing to delay the implementation of this change and engage in an intense communication plan to urge drivers to enroll in the Easy Pass program to take advantage of the Easy Pass rates. We also have a proposal to incentivize drivers who have an Easy Pass transponder, but whose transponder is not being read by the overhead gantry, likely because it's not placed correctly in the vehicle. So we want to ensure proper positioning of that transponder. So to do this, to incentivize that behavior, we are proposing to increase a new mid-tier toll rate for all classes, which will be the average of the difference between the toll-by-mail rate and the peak Easy Pass rate. For autos, as an example, that would be a toll of $18.72. Currently, approximately 9% of our transactions are toll-by-mail transactions from an Easy Pass enrolled account, which does not have an accurate read of their transponder. Once again, we are proposing to delay implementation of this change in order to engage in an intense communication plan to urge drivers to properly display their transponders to take advantage of that Easy Pass toll rate. I'll also note that this structure is consistent with the structure of other tolling agencies in the region. Finally, we are looking for a proposal on the tolls to eliminate a lightly used volume discount program that we have for truck accounts on the off-peak. 0.4% of our business accounts utilize this discount. Moving on to PATH, we are proposing the introduction of a reduced fare program for riders with qualifying disabilities. We would structure this program in a manner similar to our current senior reduced fare program, giving riders with qualified disabilities a reduced fare of 50% of the then current one-way PATH fare. We plan to implement this once the TAP system is fully operational, which is currently estimated to be this summer. And when we will roll out a program to start to enroll passengers into this program so that they can apply for a unique account that would be tied to a tap-and-go payment account to afford them the discount. So those are the proposed changes that we're making to the board. We'll talk in a few minutes about the process that we're going to go through from that perspective. Moving on to operating expenses. The proposed 24 operating expense budget is a total budget of $4.1 billion, with major components comprised of over $1 billion for safety, security, and cybersecurity. This is the agency's largest ever allocation for that portion of our budget. Approximately $2 billion for the ongoing operations and maintenance of our facilities, and nearly $1 billion for all of it, the rents, pilots, et cetera, and back office that to support the ongoing operations of the agency. The proposed budget reflects a total growth of $205 million versus 2024's budget. This includes inflationary escalations of 2.7%, or $104 million, and additional priority spending of $101 million, to include $32 million for bolstering our safety and security and cybersecurity budget, and that's in recognition of the changing threat environment and improving our focus on our cybersecurity defenses. Jim mentioned our larger facilities that we are operating now. We have additional money allocated to operate and maintain those larger facilities, as well as expand that PATH train service. And we have some temporary support for those large capital construction programs, so that we can mitigate the construction traffic congestion impacts for accounting purposes. While these are due to the capital programs and they're funded from the capital program budget, they must be accounted for in our books as operating expenses, so they're reflected in this budget. And then finally, we have non-discretionary rents that are driven by revenues, and other regulatory requirements that are reflected in the budget, and that's an incremental $33 million. So that is our proposed operating budget. I'll move very quickly to the capital spending program. Derek talked about what we will be doing. This is what it will cost us to do the agenda he talked about. We have a budget of $3.6 billion. The categories are by the departments here, as you can see. Substantial investment clearly in JFK, Newark AirTrain, and advancing Terminal B planning. Midtown Bus Terminal, you can see a significant amount of spending for TB&T. We'll be starting initial construction of the early phases of that program, and then continued investments in PATH, as well as the Port Street Corridor program. I'll note this is, while the budget to budget looks flat when we're looking at our spending versus the budget, this is about an $800 million increase in 2025. So other component of our $9.4 billion budget is the debt service that we pay as we partially fund some of our capital program with debt and some with our revenues. We're looking at a $1.9 billion or $1.9 billion total debt service budget. This budget is a modest increase, 1% over our 24 budget. It reflects increases in scheduled principal payments. It also reflects the assumption of the issuance of $900 million of new money bonds, $100 million in short-term borrowing, and a drawdown on a TIFIA loan that we are seeking for the bus terminal in alignment with our funding program for the 25 capital plan. So next steps, we are going to be posting this proposed budget on the website today. We are asking the public to submit comments to the Port Authority. We would request that we receive those comments by the 9th so that we can compile them and review them and give the feedback to the board. But we will, of course, take comments from the public at the December 12th board meeting. We will have all of that information pulled together, and we would seek adoption of the proposed budget with any amendments recommended from the outcome of that comment period at the December 12th board meeting. With respect to the proposed toll and fare changes that I walked through, in addition to allowing for public comments on our website starting today, we will be holding 4 public hearings the first week of December, 2 to be held in New York, 2 in New Jersey, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening in each state. They will be attended by commissioners. There will be a virtual option for all participants to participate in those meetings virtually. Once again, we ask the public to submit comments by the 9th on our website, but we'll, of course, be taking comments at the December 12th board meeting. They'll be reviewed once again, and we'll seek approval of the board at the 12th following the outcome of any changes we might propose as a result of the hearing process. And with that, Chairman, happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Libby. Any questions from the commissioners? We've gone over this for the last few months, just in terms of the process. We're going to defer voting on this until after we hear from the speakers. Thank you. Moving ahead, we'll now have our Chief Operating Officer, Jim Heitman, present an item for the board's consideration that would reauthorize the program for New Jersey Liberty International Airport's AirTrain Newark replacement and authorize an award of a contract to construct the gateway and stations. Jim Heitman.
Good afternoon again. I'm happy to be here to seek approval to advance AirTrain Newark replacement program. Again, just building on the successes in transforming our facilities. This is a really important step in that direction. So to put this in context, this is part of the transformation of Newark Liberty International Airport. We've talked several times about the world-class Terminal A that fully opened in 2023 to industry accolades, the new consolidated rental car and public parking facility that opened in 23 also. We talked about the station access that allows access to the airport and the Northeast Corridor to the community in Newark and Elizabeth. And you saw last month the release of the vision plan and the authorization for Terminal B planning. But tying all that together is the existing AirTrain that needs replacement. So for background, the existing AirTrain system opened in 1996 and is reaching the end of its useful life. It's a critical asset, primary travel option for millions of airport passengers to transfer between the terminals and to the rental car facilities and also to the regional rail transit connections at the Northeast Corridor. It moves an average of 33 passengers per day. The challenge is it's so popular, can't keep up with the demand growth, can't be expanded or upgraded, and requires extensive maintenance and repair. The current alignment doesn't allow for future airport development consistent with the airport vision plan. So today, we're requesting the award of the biggest of the contracts that are under this program for the guideways and stations, and in addition, seeking a reauthorization of the program at $3.5 billion, which is a large $1.45 billion increase over the original approved $2.05 billion. I'm going to take you through the history to explain that. In 2019, the board authorized that $2 billion for the replacement. The initial plan was to go out with a single design, build, operate, and maintain package. And that procurement was advanced in 2021, but canceled after we received bids in 2022 in the height of the COVID pandemic. The prices that we received were just really high, and we couldn't explore it, and we thought we needed to go out to the industry to understand what was going on. And through that outreach, we came up with a new procurement strategy to go out with 5 smaller packages that are more friendly to the construction market. And some of that was already underway, and we've had a couple of actions taken up at prior board meetings. The early works for the relocation of utilities, geotechnical investigations, and select demolition was launched in Q1 of '24. The system technology was selected and awarded, which is the vehicles, the train controls, and the electrical distribution for that train system was awarded in Q4 of 2023. And today, we're here seeking the award of the largest program element that I mentioned, the guideway and stations, which is about 50% of the overall cost. Following up on this, in future awards will be the maintenance and control facility that's used to maintain the vehicles, the pedestrian connectors that will connect the new train system to the existing Terminal B and Terminal C, and the eventual demolition of the existing air train. So just to talk a little bit about our largest contract that we're seeking to award today, this is a 2.5-mile elevated guideway structure, 3 stations, and the preliminary design for a future station which will be part of the new Terminal B, and also includes all of the infrastructure adjustments, site work, utilities to support the program. A competitive procurement process was launched in Q4 of 2023. And next slide. We were happy to report that it was a very successful competitive process that was carried 3 successful proposers, highly competitive to the end. Ultimately, we are recommending a best value selection of the joint venture Tutor Perini O&G. The proposer provided the most advantageous best value to the Port Authority. It received the highest technical rating and provided the lowest price. It achieved positive design innovations on both the guideway and the stations, provided the best construction plan for minimizing impacts to the airport operations and passengers. It outlined the best integration plan between the train system and the guideway that they were creating, and other interfaces with other contracts delivering the rest of the program. And it was committed to the 20% MBE, 10% WBE, 3% SDVOB, and local business targets. This is a rendering of one of the stations, and what it really shows how they took the design intent that was achieved in Terminal A and kind of replicated the architecture. It shows, it's hard to see on this photo, but they're going to integrate public art with references to New Jersey, similarly building on the successes of Terminal A, and just has a really seamless and good connection. And this, I believe, is Terminal A station, so this will be right across from the new Terminal A and right adjacent to the Conrack and public parking facility. The next rendering shows the new station at the rail link connection. Again, follows that same light, open, spacious look and feel. There's a view of the Station 1, which is at Terminal A platform level. Again, high ceilings, a lot of light, clear signage and direction throughout the whole system. So just to get into the history on how we got from where we were to where we are, I mentioned that the program was authorized at a little over $2 billion in 2019. In July of 2022, we received proposals on that design, build, maintain, and operate contract to deliver the program that far exceeded that estimate. Had we awarded the low bidder at that time, it would have had a total cost of $4.6 billion. So the project was paused, and we engaged in investigation with the industry to understand what was going on. Market feedback determined that project challenges were not unique. Mega projects north of $1 billion across the U.S. face similar challenges due to COVID-related construction costs, disrupted supply chains, and dramatically reduced construction market risk and appetite on mega projects. Based on that feedback, we revised procurement strategy, as I mentioned earlier, and we achieved increased market competition with the smaller package sizes. We reduced the risk by advancing design and completing early work site investigations that I mentioned earlier, and the purchase and leading of the system ahead of the rest of the system allowed us to optimize around that in our design of the packages to follow. So with the award of the this recommended contract on top of the systems, we will now have bid prices for 80% of the total program, and with that confidence, we're seeking the reauthorization at $3.5 billion, as I mentioned, $1.5 billion. And just to get into the treetops of what happened on this program and on many other large programs, the COVID-19 pandemic pause and the reprocurement of the elements that I described earlier resulted in a 5-year delay of the program. So a lot of escalation costs hit the program as probably the biggest driver of that increase. Within those 5 years, the world experienced this unprecedented rate of inflation. On top of that, unprecedented higher increase, particularly on construction contracts. And then on top of that, even extra sharp risk premiums on these mega projects over $1 billion. We worked hard to address that $1.5 billion to deliver the program, and is largely addressed by deferring or reducing spending on other Port Authority projects that were in the capital plan. I mentioned the new approach that we tried to limit our risk and exposure. So through this revised strategy, although $3.5 billion is a high price, we did avoid over $1 billion compared to if we had awarded the low bid in 2022. So just to remind everybody of where we are in the timeline, I mentioned that the first major award was in Q4 of 2023 when we selected the train systems. We issued the early works in Q1 of 24 and have been out doing that site work and investigation. And today we're here to do the two things I mentioned, seek program reauthorization and award the Guideway and Stations project. Looking forward, the major construction will begin in Q3 of 2025. We will award the contract to build the maintenance facility towards the end of next year, and then the last package for the new system will be awarded in 2026, which are those pedestrian connectors that I mentioned to connect the new stations to the existing terminals. This all leads to a new service date for the new system in 2030, and after that's up and running, we'll issue the last contract for the demolition of the existing system. So today's requested actions is to reauthorize the program at a total cost of $3.5 billion, an increase of approximately $1.45 billion over the previously authorized amount, and to authorize the executive director to award the design and construction of the Guideway and Station project to the joint venture Tudor Perini OG, the highest rated and lowest cost proposer, whose proposal provides the overall best value from both a technical and price standpoints, and at its price proposal of approximately $1.184 billion. We're also seeking to have the ability, as deemed appropriate by the executive director, to submit a Federal Aviation Administration authorization to apply passenger facility charges, to the program Increase the professional services contracts with Lee and Elliott by $115 million to help oversee the construction. Increase the early works multi-bid master agreement, which helps us eliminate the risks before the contractor gets on site, by $85 million. And to authorize a contract for traffic rapid response work orders in support of the delivery of the program at an estimated cost of $7 million. And with that, I will say thank you, and you'll see another picture of one of the new stations.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions from the commissioners on this matter? All right, if not, we're going to defer till after the speakers program. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from our first Deputy Director of Aviation, Sarah McKean, regarding proposals to revise the agency's airport minimum wage policy and street pricing policies and solicit public comments for the revisions. Hey, Sarah.
Hello, Chairman. Thank you. And before I start, Lillian, happy 50th. I'm really happy to be here. And like Commissioner Eve, I also strive to be like you when I grow up. So with that, Commissioners, Executive Director, I'm here to talk about the Port Authority's proposed expanded minimum wage policy and associated street pricing policy for our airports. The Port Authority recognizes that with fair compensation, airport employers can attract qualified individuals to work at our airports and to retain them. And that retention of longer tenured employees then become a better trained and more experienced workforce that can identify and report potential security issues, provide assistance in the event of an emergency, and support stable airport operations. With that understanding, the Port Authority seeks to assess a new minimum wage policy that, one, allows for 3 increases over the next 14 months to establish a minimum wage of $21.25 as of January 1st of 2025. 2, we will be moving and transitioning in 2027 to an annual automatic increase that will be based on CPI inflation, following the practice of both the states of New York and New Jersey. And 3, if the hourly minimum wage does not reach $25 an hour by January 1st of 2032, we propose that effective September 1st, 2032, the minimum wage be moved to $25 an hour. Regarding the street pricing policy, the Port Authority recognizes that an effective street pricing policy prevents airport concessionaires from charging excessive prices over the same items that are found outside of the airports. However, to continue to attract high-quality concessionaires at our airports, the Port Authority is now proposing to adjust our street pricing policy to take account of the higher employee wages that we just talked about, the state-mandated health benefits that are required for airport workers, and higher costs of doing business at the airport due to airport security and logistics. With that, we propose a adjusted street pricing policy to be amended from the current 10% to 15% at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark Liberty International Airports. We would like to permit an additional employee benefit and retention surcharge of up to 3%. And I just want to note that if this revised policy is approved, the value for money requirements that food and beverage concessionaires must meet at our airports will remain in place, and they will continue to provide value for money options to our customers. So for next steps, we do seek comments on these proposals. The rules that are proposed have been posted on the Port Authority website for a 30-day public comment period starting on Tuesday, November 12th. The rules are available for review and comment at the Port Authority's website, and comments will be accepted up to and including the December 12th board meeting. We do anticipate bringing comments and an updated policy to the board for a consideration at the December 12th meeting. And with that, I conclude. Ask any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Any comments or questions from the commissioners? All right, we're going to defer this matter until after the speaker's program. Thank you, Sarah. At this time, we ask for our Executive Director's report. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not going to deliver my normal monthly report, but simply cite the board first to the video highlight that you saw a short while ago to cite you to the discussions that our Chief Development Officer, Derek Utter, and our Chief Operating Officer, Jim Heitman, delivered in terms of our capital, both our capital and operating, both accomplishments and plans, 24 and 25, and also cite you to the lengthy discussion by our Chief Financial Officer, Louis McCarthy, on a budget which I believe is responsible, prudent, and will support the kind of world-class operating standards and the world-class facilities that we aspire to. I would thank, in particular, Libby and her staff, and Derek and his staff, as well as Jim and the chiefs of the operating units, and indeed all the senior chiefs and directors for the hard work that it has taken, not only in terms of delivering these outcomes, but in developing the budget which you just heard. I would also like to thank, in that respect, which I do every month, the entire staff of the Port Authority, without whose efforts and dedication none of these accomplishments and none of these ambitions would be possible. I take note also of the leaders of the 23 Port Authority unions who represent 2/3 of Port Authority employees, and thank them for their support and their advice. I think 2024 has been a true year of accomplishment, and as I said, I commend the budget to the Port, to the board, as a prudent and responsible way forward. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I can conclude my report.
Thank you very much, Rick. We'll now provide an opportunity for the members of the public to comment on Port Authority matters. This public comment period, which may be limited to 30 minutes in total, provides an opportunity for members of the public to present their views directly to the board, but does not provide for a dialogue. Members of the public wishing to be heard on a specific item, you can please talk to our Port Authority staff who are in the back, and we'll have the Public Affairs Department reach out to you. Speakers are asked to comply with the fixed time of 3 minutes. Our first speaker is the president of 32BJ. Manny, is Manny here?
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Manny Pastreich, the president of SEIU 32BJ, and I am here to celebrate the big step forward for thousands of workers that make these local airports work, but often go unnoticed and unrecognized. Today really is a great day. Today you propose that 40,000 essential workers who keep our airports running receive the wage increases that they've earned and that they truly need. I know you've heard from them over the months and really over the years, and there are 100 of these airport workers here today in this room and the overflow room who are truly excited about what's happening today and will ultimately take place next year. When formally adopted, airport workers will see their wages increase immediately on January and continue to increase ultimately until they get $25 an hour over the next few years. And I really can't say it better than the airport workers that you've heard from over the years and that you'll hear from today, what it means to them and their families, so I will let them speak to that. But I know that you've heard about the very real stresses they face to make ends meet, the tough decisions they have to make every month, deciding which bills to pay, and how they provide for themselves and their families. With this proposal, you have recognized our members' essential service to the airports and improving working conditions before, and you're proposing to do it again. The Airport Authority has taken real responsibility, which is not easy to do, but is as essential as those essential workers, and so we thank you for taking that responsibility. We know that the wage increases create more financial security for airport workers, and we know that these increases will lead to a more stable and dedicated workforce that powers our airports and powers these world-class airports. So thank you, first and foremost, to the 32BJ members, the Unite Here members who stood up and called attention to what's needed. And I'm also here to celebrate the leadership of the airport that heard the voices of these workers. So thank you all for your leadership on this front. I just would like to start with Chairman O'Toole. Over the years, you've been a great partner to our union and to these workers. We appreciate someone who chairs an organization as large, as important as the Port Authority, has not forgotten the workers that make it run every day. I would also like to thank Executive Director Cotton. I've had the opportunity to meet with you over the past few months. I know that I have a deeper appreciation of the challenges facing the airports, and I also thank you for all the work you do on such a critical agency. Thank you to Peter Simon, who's always kept an open line and brought something that we appreciate, good listening skills and helping get things done. And I also would like to thank, I think he may be on Zoom, but Commissioner LaBarber. It makes us know very well that there is a labor voice on this board, means a lot to all of us. And really to all the commissioners, I don't want to get ahead of the votes, but we just appreciate all of those who have taken this into account, what it means. And the last thing I'll just say is I know they're not here today, but I just want to give a shout out and thanks to Governors Hochul and Governor Murphy. Their endorsement and their leadership on this front has been incredibly important. Leadership and tone setting is the goal is what governors should do and what they've done, and their public stance to support this has been very, very important to us, important to the people who work in this airport. So, congratulations to the hundreds of members that are here today. Congratulations to the 40,000 men and women who make these airports work. And thank you again for formally introducing this wage proposal today. We look forward to an affirmative vote on December 12th.
Manny, a couple things. And I know I'm going to go back and forth. Let me just say, I'm glad Peter Simon's the only one who's a good listener. We took note of that. Let me just say thank you to Kevin Brown and you, Manny. Wonderful dialogue over the last 7 years up here. And I will tell you, when your members come up here and we listen very carefully to their stories, they acquit themselves extraordinarily well, talking about what they do and how they do it. And for those of us that go into the airports weekly and see what they do, it is extraordinarily appreciated. And look, it's a balancing what we do here, as you know. And I'm glad you have a greater appreciation interacting with Rick and senior staff as to the concerns and the pressing, conflicting sometimes issues that we have. So this didn't come easily. You're a tough negotiator, just so you know. Your folks have done a great job, and I'm hoping we'll have a positive vote at the end of this meeting. So
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Manny.
Gary, yes, Commissioner LaBarber.
No, I just wanted to thank, excuse me, I just wanted to thank the chairman and executive director and everyone involved, and want to thank Manny and the 32BJ team, for coming to a really positive outcome. And I'm just very pleased to be a part of it and see how this all worked out, for both the workers, the members of 32BJ and Unite Here, and will work out for the Port Authority as well. So congratulations to all.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Commissioner.
And leadership.
Thank you. All righty, Rosanna Glasgow. Rosanna, is she here?
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosanna Glasgow. I'm a security guard at JFK and a proud member of the Union 32BJs. The fight and advocate of proposal such as the one being presented today. I would like to thank you for listening to the airport workers and making this proposal raise increase. Airport essential workers' wages. We work hard for this. A wage increasing would have a direct impact in my life. I would immediately spend the increase to help support my family. My mother and brother and I are struggling to make ends meet. The wage increase, the wage we have now, I have been working, Jesus. I have worked hard for this. If I have the wage increase, I would immediately spend it on a house. It have been hard for us for affordable rent. Light bill, food, Metro card, everything is expensive. If my wage increased, I would immediately use it for home because right now I'm looking for a place. I work hard for it. It's not easy. I work hard for it. I work hard for it and still can't afford to live here. We make the airport run, but it's still a struggle. Thank you for proposing the wage increase. We will continue raising our voice with our Union 32BJs to ensure the life of airport workers, including making this proposal pass.
Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you. Sonia Marin? Is Sonia Marin there? Sonia Marin?
Good afternoon,
Good
ladies
afternoon.
and gentlemen. My name is Sonia Marin. I'm a cleaner at LaGuardia Airport and proud member of the Union 32BJ. I spend 40 hours each week cleaning almost everything in Terminal C at LaGuardia Airport, like bathrooms, floors, walls, chairs, windows, walkways, gate, jet bridge, but what air is not enough to support my family, pay my mortgage, electricity, which is very expensive now, gas, water, food, internet, cell phone. Therefore, I need another job where I work 19 hours a week cleaning houses. On Fridays, I do both jobs. So, thank you for listening to airport workers for this proposal. It is necessary. If I earn more money, I could spend more time with my son, my husband. Thank you very much for this proposal. I will continue to raise my voice with my Union 32BJ for a better future for me and my coworkers. And I'm proud to work at the airport #1 in USA.
Thank you very much.
LaGuardia Airport.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to 32BJ.
Fatia Maro?
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Fatia Maro, and I'm a proud member of 32BJ SEIU, a union that has been helping workers like me have their voices heard. I'm also an essential worker at Newark Liberty International Airport. For the last 2 years, I've been working there as a janitor. Me and my coworkers work hard to make sure lounges and restrooms are clean and to greet passengers so that air travel is as pleasant and comfortable as it can be. I want to start by thanking you all for these proposed increases. We are an essential function of the Newark Airport. Not only are these increases badly needed, they are good steps toward recognizing the hard work that we do. Thousands of travelers come by our terminal every day. They understand what? Oh, I'm sorry. They're understandable expect restrooms and lounges to be clean and orderly. We're the ones who work hard to make that happen. In the last 4 years, the cost of living has gone up drastically. Just about everything you could think of, groceries, utilities, transportation, and housing, but my wage hasn't caught up. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. It's not a comfortable feeling wondering the next time you'll be able to afford groceries or have to pick and choose which bill to pay on time. These increases will help greatly toward providing me and my coworkers financial stability. Thank you for making this proposal and for listening to essential workers.
Thank you. Thank you. Christopher, you're up.
Good afternoon. I'm Christopher D. Greif, and as an advocate for disability, I'm going to say
Thank God we finally see the reduced fare coming in. Thank you to the staff. And Lillian, happy 50th anniversary. That was great to see that we are seeing that she's getting a really strong award. And I'm always supporting with all the young ladies, and especially she's still young and legend. We don't use the old word because that's disrespectful. But the focus I'm very glad to see is reduced fare, because me or my mother or Ann, or if she was here, and Jason, we want to make sure we can go on the PATH trains with the reduced fare price. As we do, is Debbie and I use the Omni A and the reduced fare Omni card. We've been testing it. It's been working fine. If we get that link to it to the PATH trains, it will be like, oh, tap, I'm on. But I'm also glad to see when projects are coming up, and I mentioned this last month, we still need to make sure that when you guys are updating airports and stuff, we need to know accessibility. Because it's important that we can advocate as advocates to back it up, that airports are getting more ADA accessible. Not just seniors, but people with disabilities and veterans. We need to make sure we can get that accomplished. And the reminder of the budget is, the AirTrain gets too expensive, we're going to see more people using our MTA buses. We need to work on a deal that it's not over-costing people. Because a lot of us who may go to work here, the unions agree, it's too much. And it's not fair to us to let, they're overpaying on the AirTrain. It's actually going to be soon more expensive it's going to be cheaper on the express bus. The AirTrain will be more expensive. We need to try to work on deals and how can we get connections in the 2025 project. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Christopher. Hey, Christopher, I knew you were going to be positive because I saw when they announced the 50%, you were fist bumping Jason. So I knew you were psyched.
And I don't want to forget my mother because
let's go. Deborah,
Yes.
Come on up.
And Patul, just one add. I also pound her, but she has to be careful with tendinitis.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I can't clap that much. As you see, I'm wearing 2 braces. But good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I am extremely happy to see that there's going to be the reduced fare program for PATH. Great. But I also would like to see more stations being made truly accessible. There's only, I think I can either get at 33rd Street, which is 34th in New York City, or here in the Port Authority in the New York side to get on accessibly. So I would like to see 14th and 23rd also made accessibly, because you see, the MTA has put elevators up. Yes, I should know. I was called to show up because they wanted me to test the elevators. That's some of the other, especially since now I have a new walker I have to try. They're having me go all over to test. And yes, I do test I am a tester for the accessory AA or card, and I'm also doing the reduced fare PATH. But what I would like to see more is please bring out more how you're going to make life for people with disabilities better in your airports, the bus terminal. People don't realize that there are a lot of people who work and have disabilities, but if they can't get to work, they're stuck. And then people complain, oh, people with disabilities don't want to work. It's not that we don't want to work. If we can't get to our jobs because it's not accessible. I was supposed to get off of DeKalb Avenue, that's in Brooklyn, with the B&Q train, and I couldn't go upstairs because the elevator was out. So I had to, thankfully, I'm smart enough to know, I took the train to the next stop because I was praying that elevator worked. Otherwise, I would have had to go to Manhattan to churn around to figure another way. No, I was not going to let people carry my walker up. It's heavy enough as it is. But what I'm asking is, we want people with disabilities to work, and that includes many of our disabled vets, and they want to work. So what I appreciate is, when you bring up disabilities for the airports, the land, your rails, and even the sea, because when we go on cruises, I want to know, when I get there with my walker, I hope they're not going to take it apart. That's why I refuse to now fly, because I'm afraid they will break this walker. And I bought it myself personally because I didn't like what the insurance was going to give me. It was my choice. But you see, this is making sure I don't fall down. I also want to congratulate Lillian. 50 years, keep on going, lady. And as you see, my son is pro-feminist. But again, I appreciate all the improvements and keep up the good work, but please, let's try to make things far more accessible.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. John
And I will
Taranup.
test.
Thank you. John Taranu? John?
See here. Sorry, I'm a little taller. Hi, thank you. My name's John Taranu, and I live in New Jersey. And I recently joined an organization called Hudson County Complete Streets to advocate for something that is very important to me and hundreds of thousands of other people who rely on the path. That is, the service levels on the path, especially off-peak and on weekends. Now, I first want to start by saying congratulations. I saw the latest report that for the first time, weekend ridership has reached pre-pandemic levels, and that is something we should all be proud of. That is a fantastic thing to finally hear. However, this is happening despite service levels continuously being cut, especially on weekends and off-peak. Most recently, the 33rd Street line was cut from every 12 minutes to every 20 minutes weekends for at least the next 5 months, and it's not clear when that will end. This is worse than pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, that line ran every 10 minutes. Now it's twice as infrequent, every 20 minutes. The same has happened on the other line, the World Trade Center line. It runs every 20 minutes as well. The question is why? Why, in the face of record ridership and a recovery in ridership, is the service even worse? This has real consequences. It's not just theoretical. It has real consequences on people. Delays and crowding impact people. People like myself, my wife, who miss appointments. We miss restaurant reservations and theater, and we wonder, why should we bother with this system in the first place? It impacts the family who's trying to get into the train on a weekend with a stroller and a little toddler being crushed into a packed train and wondering if their little one's going to be bumped into an oncoming train on a crowded platform that's at capacity. It impacts the hospital worker that's coming in from a late night shift, is tired, is exhausted, and she misses her bus connection at Journal Square and has to wait another 30 or 45 minutes for the next bus. It has real impacts on people. And if we know that ridership patterns have changed since the pandemic. We have more people riding on weekends. Their ridership on weekdays hasn't come up. Why don't we rebalance the frequencies of the system to match what actual ridership is like? The solution is simple. Just restore the frequency to at least what it was pre-pandemic. Every 10 minutes. Why not every 5 minutes on the weekends, like other transit systems around the world? And look, I understand there's an important need to do construction, but there's 2 lines. Increase the frequency on the other line to compensate for construction on one of the other lines. Make the system work for people who are riding it. And myself and the other advocates who are really excited and insist about this issue, we want to work with you. We want to partner with you. There's a whole coalition of advocates out there who'd be happy to go and advocate for increased funding. You mentioned there's no taxpayer funds. Why not ask for taxpayer funds from federal or state levels to accelerate and improve the frequency? And advocate even for legislative changes to make the system work better.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Leonard Marone? Leonard? All right, Jason? Jason Anthony?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Lillian, congratulations to reaching half a century. We wish that we had people like you, but keep it up. As always, Jason Anthony from the Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force. Last night when I was going home, interestingly, I was at Jamaica Air Train Station, and the escalator wasn't working. And upon looking my Twitter timeline, Karen Van Open posted 6 hours ago a picture of Grove Street Station on the psychopath, like I call it. The elevator not in service. Due to why? No explanation provided. This is why the port unauthorized, like I call it, should provide more clarification of why the elevators and escalators are out. Because the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, better known as the MTA, does it best in terms of accessibility and everything throughout the kitchen sink. And regarding the Hoboken terminal closure for 25 days, you guys should reconsider the alternatives and have more accessibility reroutes. Because as you guys know, New Jersey Transit Corporation, this past summer, they have demonstrated for those in the east of Hudson to be a massive failure. So I think you guys should reconsider doing business with them. And regarding the fare increase, I wanted to ask Libby McCarthy to rethink the 25-cent toll to be 15 cents to equal the amount of fare that the MTA, in other words, New York City Transit is now. That is $2.90. Because SEPTA will be doing the same as of January. That will be $2.90, not $3. So I don't know from where you got your numbers, Libby. So let's take another look on that. And the air train should be free because this is the only jurisdiction that we have to pay up to $8 and $9 to access our airports. So that's all I have to say for this month.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Jim, is that all the live speakers we have signed up? I know there's one written and one video to go.
What's that? I think are there two more Unite Here people? I think Patrick Jean.
All right, come on up, Patrick Jean. It's not on my list. What's the other? Okay.
Good afternoon.
All right. Hey, Patrick.
Hello, Commissioners of the Port Authority. I spoke to y'all back in June.
Okay.
But just to remind you, my name is Patrick Jean. I'm a driver for LSG Sky Chef at JFK with catering the in-flight food for the airplanes. I live in Bushwick, Brooklyn. I have a wife, 4 children, and 2 beautiful grandkids. I am proud to be a member of United Here Local 100. I am thrilled that Governor Hochul and Murphy have introduced a proposal to increase the minimum wages of the airport workers. The proposal would increase the minimum wage for airline workers to $21.25 by January of 2026 and would increase the minimum base information for the next 5 years. This proposal would greatly improve the well-being of me and my coworkers and give us the ability to better take care of ourselves and our families. Right now, I see many of my coworkers across the airport who makes less than $20 an hour who struggle to make a living. Higher wages would mean that there are more people around to do this hard work. In turn, this would make my job less stressful, less dangerous. Customers would also not be left waiting for food or luggage to arrive. One thing, I do not see this proposal and this parity for New York airport workers with health insurance and paid leave standards established by New Jersey and Health Terminal Act. These requirements have improved the health and quality of life of my counterparts at Newark Airport. The airport never stops, so we need more paid time off. We need to rest, or when we need to get sick. So I urge you to consider updating this proposal to guarantee New York airport workers the same standards applied to New Jersey airport workers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tiana Johnson. Tiana Johnson. Jim, that's the last live speaker. Okay, thanks.
Good afternoon, Commissioners of the Port Authority. My name is Tiana Johnson. I work for Compass at United Polaris Club at Newark Airport as a waitress. I have worked at the airport for 1 year and I live in Jersey City, originally from Brooklyn, New York. I am proud to be a member of the Unite Here Local 100. I am very excited by the proposal to increase the minimum wage for airport workers, including airport lounge workers like me. The proposal would provide a much greater quality of life for me and my coworkers, and making working at the airport much more viable as a long-term career. An increased minimum wage does not just benefit the workers who receive it in its proposal. The Port Authority noted that previous increases in the airport minimum wage resulted in better trained and more experienced workers. In turn, workers are better able to do their jobs while keeping their eyes open to security concerns and provide assistance in case of emergencies. One change that I would suggest is to make the health insurance and paid leave standards that are guaranteed under the New Jersey Healthy Terminals Act apply to New York airport workers as well. Under these standards, me and my coworkers in New Jersey are better able to take care of ourselves and our families. I think New York airport workers should get access to these benefits as well. The Port Authority's proposal to increase the minimum wage will uplift thousands of people, all of New York and all of New Jersey communities that they live in. I urge you to pass this proposal, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we have a video by Matthew, Bucky's Highland.
That's correct.
We play that, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matty W. Bucky's Highland. For today's public comment for the Port Authority, I do have a suggestion for you. For the path, there should be an announcement if there's an accessible station like the New York City subway does. And if there is an accessible station, they should announce where the elevator or the ramp is on the platform. That's my suggestion to you. With that being said, everybody, please have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. And we'll see you all in December. Back to Chairman Kevin J. O'Toole.
Thank you, Matthew. And we have one written statement from Christopher O'Leary.
That's correct. That was about he filed a statement with respect to the street pricing policy. It's been shared with the commissioners and also with the aviation department.
And that'll be attached to the record.
Transcripts of today's meeting.
Great, thank you. And there's nobody else signed up and no other video, no other written?
That's correct.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. Moving ahead, let's proceed with the voting items for today's agenda. As Chair of the Committee on Operations, I will now present 4 items under the committee's purview. The first, as presented earlier by the First Deputy of Aviation, approves the posting for public comment, proposed revisions of airport minimum wage, rule and street pricing policies at LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark Liberty International. Prior to making a motion, are there any recusals?
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Motion, please. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fine?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado filed her affirmative vote.
Okay, the votes are in order. The item's been approved. Next item, as presented earlier by our Chief Financial Officer, authorizes the scheduling of public hearings and solicitations of public comment regarding certain proposed adjustments at the tolls for vehicular interstate crossings. Prior to making a motion, are there any recusals?
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Motion, please.
So
moved.
Second, there's a second by Gary LaBarbera. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fine?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado has filed her affirmative vote.
The votes are in order. This item has been approved. The next item is presented by our Chief Financial Officer, authorizes the scheduling of public hearings and solicitations of public comment regarding proposed reduction of the path fare for disabled persons. Prior to making a motion, do we have any recusals, Jim?
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners? A motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fine?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Rosado has also filed her affirmative vote.
The votes are in order. The item's been approved. The next item approves a collective bargaining agreement with Local 15, Local 30, Local 68 International Union of Operating Engineers, which represents approximately 575 Port Authority employees performing various functions, including watch engineers, plumbers, and general maintenance. This agreement was ratified by the union members on October 25th and is for a 26-month period. Before asking for a motion, are there any recusals, Jim?
No recusals.
All right, any questions or comments from the commissioners? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fine?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Rosado has filed their affirmative vote.
All the votes are in order. The item's been approved. Vice Chair Linford, as Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, will now provide his report for 2 items for board consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, I will now report on 2 items under the committee's purview. The first item, which was presented by our Chief Operating Officer earlier at this meeting. The item would reauthorize a program to develop a new air train system at Newark International Airport at a total program cost of $3.5 billion, consistent with the terms presented by our Chief Operating Officer at this meeting. Prior to making a motion on this item, I asked the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on these items? Hearing none, I now request a motion on this item. Please.
So moved.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. I now request the Corporate Secretary to call for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fine?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Rosado has filed their affirmative vote.
Thank you. As the votes are in order, the item is approved. The next item would reauthorize a program to install a ground-based augmentation system at John F. Kennedy International and LaGuardia airports at a total program cost of $41.9 million and the award of contracts at each airport to construct components of the program. Prior to making a motion on this item, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are none.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I now request a motion on this item.
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I now request the Corporate Secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fine?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
LaBarbera's a yes.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Rosado has also filed her affirmative vote on this item.
Thank you. As the votes are in order, the item is approved, and I turn it back to Chairman O'Toole.
Thank you, Vice Chair. There being no further business, I move to adjourn. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. We'll see everybody in December.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
You too.